and thanks for joining me for another Wrestling Is Real podcast. Time to go and recap TNA Wrestling's Rebellion, happening at the Palms Hotel and Casino, the Pearl Theater in Las Vegas tonight. Another big pay-per-view that, overall, it's a very solid, stacked, it's like almost like what like to say it's a work pail card, because that's really what it was. You get, with TNA, it's still working its way through to kind of figure out where they're going to go in terms of the talent. The transition to TNA as a brand, along with the fact that we have Scott D'Amore no longer involved, and anything that kind of resembled what he was doing already kind of changes up quite a bit. Tommy Dreamer with a pencil, and you want to talk about like a pretty well, decently booked match, booked pay-per-view. This was it. Surprisingly, let's see here. We had no one, right? No one on the main card, the title matches, no one lost. All title retaining. Very interesting to see that, because they really are just trying to kind of build on the storylines and what they're going to be doing. And they brought in a few new people to kind of keep things shocking and interesting and overall. And from the matches that I saw tonight, the X Division title was a very good start. I must say that with Mustafa Ali and Jake something, Mustafa Ali being able to go ahead and do the full gimmick right now that he has, being in the presidential election season, right? Acting like a candidate with a Secret Service. I love the gimmick. I think it's worked out really well for him, and it's nice to go and see it on this platform, at least somewhere, and it's not going to be just independent. We couldn't really see the whole thing of it. So having the platform for him here is good. And I liked it. The Spitfire over Decade earlier in the night, in the Countdown show, Laredo Kid over Crazy Steve, and Leon Slater and ABC defeating the Rascals in a 6-man tag, all done there. And the fact that the Rascals are now all together, well, the Rascals are now with Myron Reed as part of the team, and I missed that match. What can I say? With Jake something, when I look at him, I was always a bit miffed by him anyway, but, after the Knockouts tag team title match, it was ironic that Cody Deaner was the one to help stop a nonviolent protest. Of course, they're kind of playing along with that. And Cody Deaner's the one that's helping out Jake something to clear the match to happen. Obviously, with the Deaners together, kind of irony that we're all back together, and the fact that Deaner's all the way back to here, coming back from Bound by Design and turning back over more into his character that he was. Now, Jake something, it's like hard to kind of figure out what he is. He gives me like the Scott Norton kind of feel. He gives me that generic brute kind of wrestler, but he's getting the Hulk Hogan kind of hulking up kind of phases, which I think that was the interesting part of him about 10 minutes into the match, and seeing him start to hulk up and start to build up and hitting his moves with plenty of near falls, and then Mustafa Ali using his Secret Service to do as much as possible to keep the belt on him. That all makes sense. Then you got Joe Hendry, AJ Francis, and Rich Swann. And Rich Swann changing his look. AJ Francis, we all shit on him when he was part of Hit Row. And what he's done over here, I feel like there's a redemption for him. He gets to kind of play more of the character he is. He gets to be a little more, what feels like more authentic to him. And that works. And him with Joe Hendry, I thought, it's amazing where Joe Hendry goes along. I've never been a fan of his. And I don't know, it's like they brought him in, and I get it, and he's such a mainstay on this roster anyway. The AI stuff they did, the jokey stuff, that's cool. I get it. The one thing I can tell you is that you could tell that some of the campiness that we're so used to seeing in TNA is gone. Like, one of the things I saw, that the fact that Motor City Machine Guns lost their World Tag Team title shot against the System on Impact last week, or on Thursday. And there was a point where Chris Sabin revisited Swingers Palace. Like, all that stuff is gone. All that is away. And there's none of that really going on at all. And I think that's just something where if TNA is going to be brought to be more to a serious level, the campiness, the kind of the schlock that Impact Wrestling was kind of subjected to, which was getting a little bit old after a while. They decided to change it up and kind of just take themselves more seriously with their craft, and I don't mind that part. I think that works out well for them. Rich Swann beats Joe Hendry, so those guys can go and continue to go after each other. And then you get a couple of TNA originals, Kaz and Eric Young. There's a lot of story between these two as well. They gave a good full Metal Mayhem match. I mean, listen, you're not going to go wrong with these two. Put them in whatever match you want. It's going to be good. So they delivered. They had time, and pretty gruesome for what it was on how they put it together. 15 minutes for that match. Then you get Steve Maclin, who says he re-signed with the company. And we get a couple of folks coming into the fold tonight, which was surprising, and seeing Mike Santana come in, but it's on his own. And I'm not ready, and I don't feel like I'm really all in with seeing Mike Santana with the name Mike Santana and not seeing him as Proud and Powerful or as part of the LAX. And that's the part I'm like, okay, he's completely detached from that. So I'm still trying to figure out, let's see what his character is going to be. Because I think with TNA, now that he's here, we need to see an evolution of his character. Because as soon as you broke them up, they broke up each other in AEW, then that was it. And we'll never know what it is that really brought those two apart, but it's sad. But it's the way they decided to go. Now, Mike Santana, listen, he's a great wrestler. Let's just do something with his character. He's just generic right now. Let's do something more. But he gets a win over Steve Maclin, a former World Heavyweight Champion. And then the real focus right now is the control of the system. That's really the whole deal of all this, which is a pretty well set up group. Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, pretty well strongly put. And Eddie Edwards, just put him with a teammate. Just put him in a tag team, and he just rolls. He's good at it. So those two grizzled veterans, great. Take care of Speedball Mountain. But, I mean, this Mike Bailey, Trent Seven, great job. Again, Mike Bailey's already had that chance. He's already been X Division champion. He's already been at that pinnacle on his level. And, it's interesting to see what the tag team they put together and what they were going to do with the tag team tandems. It's one of those typical things you expect in TNA. Good tag team matches, great knockout matches. And they gave us that. So, going into after that, Hammerstone and Josh Alexander. I don't know what to feel about with Hammerstone. I mean, they make him look so strong in these matches, but him and Alexander gets the upper hand. And this time, obviously, they use the prop with the headgear. Very physical match those two have. But Hammerstone, again, on the losing side. I want to know what they're trying to do with him. So I need something more to grasp off of. Because there was one thing for Hammerstone to be a part and be the, cocky jock that was part of the Dynasty. I think of Hammerstone in the Dynasty, and he's just this big dumb jock, and I just feel like I want something more of the character from him. And I think that was one of the things that Court Bauer did, where he listen, you built him up to be like the Hulk Hogan, and I feel like that's not what they want in TNA. They have other plans for him. I don't know what that's going to be, but I need some more development out of him too. Because they're going to see him go up in the match with Josh Alexander. I don't think they've lessened or demeaned. They haven't demeaned him down. They haven't brought him down to a lower level. I think Hammerstone still has a status right now. And, it's not far for him to go ahead and make his turn to go ahead and move up the ladder once again. I don't know if they're going to put him into a spot where he could be eventually put into any kind of title picture. Not right now, anyway. I don't believe that's in yet. But who do you give him go up against next? You can go a couple different routes. You can go put him up against PCO. You can put him against Jake something. I mean, there's some other people he can go up against. I don't know what you do with him now. If he continues, because, basically I think Josh Alexander finished the feud. I don't know if there's much more to go with them, but I'm trying to figure that out. Then you finish off Knockouts World Title and the World Title match. And Jordynne Grace continues to be, there's a reason why she keeps being given the belt, and she's held on to it for quite a while because she's good. Steph DeLander doesn't, I mean, obviously I know she's done a lot of good and she's been very prominent in the indie circuit. And I think we saw her on AEW or on the Ring of Honor, right? Something like that. But, for the most part, she's here. She's a good opponent to have up against Jordynne Grace until you get somebody else to go and be put into that spot, whoever that's going to be. And everything was all fine. And then we get to the ref bump and then a lot of plunder. And the plunder was a lot. Good hands come in and they try to make a whole mess of it. Jordynne Grace takes a lot of bumps from men in this match because on top of that, it's from the good hands. And then we get a switch around and she gets help in the form of PCO and a returning Sami Callihan. Like, wow. And I think that's one of the things they wanted to go and do off of Rebellion was it was more about the debuts of stars they're bringing into the fold. And it was the title changes. That's okay. I don't mind that part. I like the fact that they're getting some players coming in here to go and really do something different. So seeing Matt Hardy come back in, seeing Sami Callihan come back in, there are some really good heady times that those two really made as part of this company. Mike Santana is going to definitely give a different flair to it. They just got to build something off of him. And that's one of those things that I feel like TNA, and especially with under Scott D'Amore, but I think in TNA in general, there's something about some of the stars that come in here that will find a way to kind of build out their character and have a chance to have it be on a significant enough platform that enough people will have watched it. Because I feel like when you look at a lot of people, like let me tell you, ever since Eddie Edwards broke off from the Wolves, I've always liked what they've done with his character. That just it's been changed so much. Tommy Dreamer when he changed him and had the whole deal with the kendo stick and all that. I've always liked the direction that Eddie Edwards has gone for the most part in its entire run as a solo star. Sami Callihan, I always think they booked him really well in this company. MOW, they just never have enough time to do anything with him. But I always think that TNA's always done a really good job of booking Sami Callihan. They've always done a good job of booking Eddie Edwards. Eric Young always gets, I think Eric Young, and after he came back from the Sanity gimmick, that faction in WWE, and coming back, I thought Bound by Design was great. The World Class Maniac, I love it. Like, this more evil version, sinister version of a grizzled Eric Young, which has nothing to do with the other Eric Young we always remember. This Eric Young has been great. And especially even, up there. Both of these guys, they've just been at it for 20 years as TNA originals. And they both, with Kazarian and Young, they still kick ass. And I think Kaz, he always wants to go and kind of change himself. They always kind of do that. So back to Jordynne Grace. She wins. It's great. I will say that with Nick Nemeth and Moose, I feel like there was some chemistry that was missing. Because you could just tell that, Dolph Ziggler definitely has a style that's like, he's still adjusting himself. You're talking about what, 15 years more than that, shit. Almost 20 years in that WWE style. And that's just some of those things where it's the same thing with Brian Myers, same thing with, a lot of stars that come out of other companies. And so adjust yourself when you've been so ingrained into that WWE style. So when he tries to hit the Famouser or he does like a sunset flip to go and get Moose back in the ring, like all that, it just, and Moose is just a big guy too. But I always feel like with Moose, it's always like who it is he's working with. Josh Alexander, hell yeah. The Sami Callihan, hell yeah. Like there's just, Moose works with just good about anybody, but I think there was a bit of a meshing of styles because Nick Nemeth, he's been a great talker in there. He's worked out really well, but it's also like you got to work with some familiar people that he's like, just kind of work his way through and just allow himself to just flourish more and do more things and just shake yourself of like a particular routine that you have. Obviously you have your moves you have to show off to the crowd, but it's like, let's do something a little more. Like, you get the chance to go ahead and open up and free your mind and expand on the set that you already have. Moves that you always wanted to go and do, bring them in here, or moves that you want to do more of, let's go. That's the part I think we want to see more of with him. And so, like I said, TNA is just a solid wrestling brand. They are a solid number 3 promotion right now. I've been watching the Impact show, especially ever since, I got more attention into it once they made the switch to TNA. So catching it every week now on Thursdays, been doing really good at it. And, just good solid matches. You want just good straight up wrestling? You get some heat for the matches, and it's just, bread and butter. It gets just bread and butter wrestling, and you get some familiar stars. You get some others that are still in there. Like, for me, it's just a standard issue, run of the mill, a solid product. And a lot of these folks that you're seeing, like, you've seen them on for years, and that's good. I think your champions are very solid. One of the things I also like about TNA is that they really do take some time to build matches outside of the titles. And I think they do a better job of that more than anybody, because I think they take some decent time with Josh Alexander and Hammerstone. They took quite a bit of time to get that built up. Kazarian and Eric Young, but that's also because of the fact they've had so much time to work on stuff. Like when Kazarian took on Eddie Edwards, again, so much you could talk about with that. There's a lot that can be said. And they've taken lots of time to work on stars and build them up. When it comes to Jake Something, that's a long time going with him, that they've had him in that roster, going away, then coming back, and he's just kind of there. And it works. And, to go ahead and build another group like the System, like they have, like the last 6 months or so, a little bit more than that, especially out of the whole Ring of Honor faction, Bound by Honor, like all that. Let's just go ahead and just get out of that. I mean, still they want to have factions. One's a faction here and there. It's fine. It's good. But they got strong champions. Now you got broken Matt Hardy that comes into the mix. And, do you see where, and I think what happened was with the Hardy Boys, it's just like Jeff, it's tough for him to kind of just keep up. He's just been he's just been, road torn. That guy's just been battered and bruised, and it's tough for him to kind of just keep doing the same old, man. So for him to go and stay in and keep working out there, because I imagine that he's always like hurting all the time. And Matt Hardy's always done a little bit better job of keeping himself together and not getting too overly injured and not, I guess dealing with the pain as well. And of course, remember, it's also the fact that broken Matt Hardy, that gimmick really reawakened him and actually created his real persona, like a personalized persona where Matt Hardy was the focus. It was burgeoned, it was fostered, it was really well put together in TNA. Like, we'll never forget, the Leader Decay. We'll never forget the Final Deletion. All those matches, like I could probably still go back to those and just enjoy them because they were just fun. Even if Jeremy Borash is now off to another company, he's been in NXT for a long time now, but still, a lot of enjoyment with what they do. And let me tell you something. Everybody wants to talk about production value. Oh, WWE, look, they're taking cameras from one side of the arena to the other. No, right? Okay. But you know what? Nobody wants to talk much about the production value that has been a step up for TNA. Like right now, TNA's production level is where Ring of Honor is with Tony Khan setting it up over there for their shows. Like, I love the TNA look. They have added color. The venues are great. They're stepping up a bit more. They're going to step up now for the 20th anniversary of Slammiversary. That's pretty interesting. And they're taking the show to, what is it, Troom Auditorium? Is that where it is right now, coming up? And yeah, they're going to go there in Montreal. I don't know how big of a place that is, but I'm curious to see what that's going to look like and how they're going to do when they go to that venue. But hey, man, great for them. Verdun Auditorium, that's where we go. Okay. It's a 4,000 seat arena. And this is a hockey, but this is also made for a hockey rink. So just outside of Montreal, minor hockey rink. And this thing looks big. Like, if they're going to build this up for a wrestling show, it's going to look nice. Like, I can see how this will look really good on TV, what they're going to set up. So, looking forward to that. That looks fun. And there we go. That's my recap of TNA Rebellion from tonight. Tomorrow, about 24 hours from now, well, maybe a little more than that, because I know that, Dynasty tomorrow for AEW is going to probably run long, probably past midnight. But I will be doing a recap of AEW Dynasty tomorrow here on the program. And I also want to go and make the announcement that I finally got some extra microphones. And I'm happy to see this where, listen, TikTok, they've been putting out in the shop, there's these lavalier microphones. And I wanted to have something for the longest time to put on my phone so I can actually do some recording when I'm not in studio. If I just have other comments I want to make, maybe take 10 or 15 minute clips where I can go ahead and just put them up on the feed and have them up there as premium content. And so I've already set up right now a subscription club. So if you want to go and check it out, kingofpodcasts.com. Like, of course, you go to the site. But then the thing is that you can also get yourself listening to me where I'm going to have a setup for premium content. That's the plan. And once I do that, I'm going to make it so that you can catch all that for yourselves. And you'll see what I'm talking about soon enough. So there'll be an area where I'm going to go put episodes up. And all you need to do to go ahead and support me on the program is I'm going to ask you to go ahead and pitch in $2 a month. And if there's anything you want me to go and talk about in particular, but if there's a particular news stories that I would normally not talk about on the regular program, then I'll do it there. And, I just want to be able to do some more content, have room for more content, but I also want to have the microphones so I can do it wherever. So I have these new lavalier microphones. I'm going to use those, put them to use, and put some premium content out there. Now, all the regular Wednesday night shows that I've always been putting up forever, those are still free. The post-show recaps for all the pay-per-views, those are still free. These are just additional clips of content I'm going to have on a regular basis. And I'll find a way to put up on the website so you can go ahead and listen to it for yourselves. That's it. That's how I'm going to do it. All right, let's go and do this real quick. Time for me to go ahead and do the run right now. And so, like I said, I'll have this set up so you can take a look for yourself. It'll be awesome. And thank you again for listening to another Wrestling Goes Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.